everyone, and welcome to another video in our Road to the World Champs series. This week I have not been up to much. That's it. I've got no good reasons, no good excuse. I've had a few things pop up with life in general, and with my job that actually puts food on the table, because unfortunately PMTT is not that successful yet. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to do too much hobby stuff. I tried to arrange a game with a friend, but we couldn't find a time that worked. And that's kind of it. So, instead of just calling this video at 40 odd seconds, I figured I'd take the opportunity to give everyone a bit of a crash course through the list that I'm actually kind of planning on taking at this stage. So, what I'm thinking at the moment is my Sylvaneth list. The reason behind that is because the only other lists that I have had a lot of practice with, and am very confident with, are Seraphon, which it puts me in an interesting spot. Seraphon is in a very powerful position at the moment, but they do have a fairly significant downside depending on how you play them. With that being said, I've found some of the matchups are just incredibly difficult, full stop. There's no real way around it. A lot of the time I was going into the matchups planning and hoping for my opponent to make a mistake, which if you're playing at the World Championships, at top tables, your opponents are not going to give you. So I've played with a similar sort of list a couple of times against other top players, and it just doesn't really compete. That was in a last edition with the last book, but some things kind of just come across with that. So if I'm going into a tournament hoping that my opponents are going to be making mistakes, I'm going to be setting myself up for a bad time from the start. So I've scrapped that idea. Seraphon are very strong, but they've got too many bad matchups with the list that I would want to take that I can risk taking them. All it would take is to get one or two of them, and then I am way down in the standings. Sylvaneth, on the other hand, I think are in a very competitive position at the moment. My reason behind that is because they're not one of the top performing factions. That, combined with their very high skill ceiling, means that they are a very finesse army. And they're an army that's unlikely to get hit significantly in the next Battle Scroll update, because we do still have that to come out before the World Championships. So players will be taking that into account. If you're running the absolutely current hotness at the moment, odds are your list is going to change by the end of November. Whether that's a points change, whether they do a War Scroll update, we're not sure. But one is due to come out this month from all the rumours that I've been hearing. And so we've got to account for that. So that's why I've kind of settled for Sylvaneth. Specifically, my list in Sylvaneth is a lot of the options that aren't considered to be the most powerful. A lot of people at the moment are considering the Oakenbros list in Sylvaneth to be the strongest. So that involves a Spirit of Durthu and multiple Tree Lords and a Tree Lord Ancient, kind of just hopping around the board, capping objectives, killing big targets, striking and fading, never really giving your opponents a fair fight through the Strike Last Monstrous Rampage and the Lash and Tangle ability from the Tree Lords to stockpile in. So it is a very techie list. I've played it, I've only put it on the table once, and I very enjoyed how it played. Unfortunately, it is probably the top performing list with Sylvaneth at the moment. So I do worry that something might change that would limit its effectiveness going through to the end of November. So that's why I'm taking a Heartwood list. Specifically, my Heartwood list revolves around a block of 9 Kurnoth Hunters with Scythes. So the overall list is in Heartwood. It's in the Burgeoning, so I've got a 6-up ward. Heartwood is I can take Kurnoth Hunters as battle line, and I get to pick 3 units of my opponent's army that my entire army gets +1 to hit against, which is huge. The bulk of the list is made up with Kurnoth Hunters, but the heroes are an Arch Revenant, who's my general with Warsinger to give a bit of extra speed. A Branch Witch with the Versible Gem with Virtuous Harmony. So that lets me bring back Kurnoth Hunters, and it can't be stopped. I might take some Mortals, but it's a very powerful option there for battle tactic as well. The last hero is Drycha, who is just an amazing piece. with her shooting ability, with her combat ability, with how she's set up and how you can use her. She is ridiculously strong. The rest of the list is a big block of 9 Kernoth Hunters with sides, 2 units of 3 Kernoth Hunters with swords, and 2 units of 5 tree reps. The final piece of the puzzle is the Spite Swarm Hive, and that rounds out the entire list to be exactly 2,000 points. Now, it is a little bit disappointing that the entire list is 2,000. It means that I can't take a single points increase to anything I use. But I'm hoping that all the stuff that I am taking is going to avoid that. The only 2 that I could really see getting hit at the moment is Drycha or the Spite Swarm Hive. Unfortunately, if either of them do get hit, I don't really have an option apart from to drop one of the pieces, which is not a good position to be in. I'm not sure what changes I would make because the list is performing really well. So the main part of the list is the block of 9 sides. They're backed up by the Arch Revenant to give them that bit of extra speed, to give them the bonuses to wound, and that unit will kill the world. They will come up against anything, and odds are, in a combat phase, they will come out on top. Being able to strike and fade them, to throw them into something a lot squishier, wipe them out and bail them out, and not have them in an exposed position is really handy. But a lot of the time, the strike and fade piece is either Drycha or the sword units. Mainly because I will throw them super deep into the enemy's lines to scalpel out problem pieces later in the game. One of the recent games that I had with that was I threw Drycha away. I actually traded her in this situation for a Stone Mage in Lumineth. So I traded a 300 something point Drycha for a 140 point Stone Mage. But the thing with that was it just threw a wrench in my opponent's plans, and he kind of couldn't then get the tempo of the game back, and I kind of just controlled it from there and got the win because of it. And that is where the high skill ceiling of Sylvaneth comes in. They've got a lot of very finicky, very techy movement rules, especially around their teleporting abilities. And it's ridiculously strong if you know how to use them well. So that's what I've been focusing on, being able to see all the opportunities at all the times to always be trying to strike and fade, or from the Woodland Depths teleport the best units at the best times. Sometimes it's not obvious. Fairly regularly, I make mistakes and choose the wrong unit and realize after the fact that I should have chosen something different. That is all part of the learning the list and getting better with it. So that is the list at the moment that I'm planning on taking to the World Champs. I have a lot of faith in the list. I believe any failing at the tournament itself will be to the player error, so my mistakes, over the list itself. There is a couple of bad matchups for the list. I haven't had great success into KO, just being that hypermobile gunline that can compete with me for the teleports and the mobility. And I'm very interested to get some games into cities when it comes out. I think odds are they're going to be a more static gunline, just based on my reading. And from my experience, I can play around static gunlines quite well with being able to throw in units and then strike and fade them out. With that being said, I don't want to say that I've got a good matchup in the cities. I haven't played it yet. So until I get some table time against them, I'm not sure how that game is going to go. But I am fairly confident in the list into most of the other matchups. I do struggle into the really heavy Magic Dom matchups, so your Zinch and your Seraphon. But with everything else that's out in the meta at the moment, I don't think those are going to be as prevalent as people think they will be. Sheerly because a lot of people will come to the same conclusion that I have, that they have just a few bad matchups that basically just stop them dead. And that's a very rough place to have the army in at the moment. It is a little paper, scissors, rocky at the moment with the meta, but it means that it's really interesting to see the lists that are coming out. So hopefully we will see how my list performs, and then I'll be able to let you guys know whether or not I had the right idea going in. I could be completely off base, and I could be walking away with an 0-5, or I could have actually kind of second-guessed and figured it out, and I might be up there competing with some of the top players in the world. Either way, I'm incredibly pumped for it, and despite not actually doing much this week, I still have been doing a lot of research. I still have been reading about the games, but the biggest thing I need at the moment is just reps. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on in the coming weeks, is just getting more reps into different matchups, different scenarios, different situations with a list, so that whatever situation comes my way, I've prepared for it because I know what to do. If you're enjoying this series, please leave a comment down below and like and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot. Otherwise, I'll talk to everyone next week. Bye.
Thank you.